Hello and a very warm welcome to ETAuto and to this very special webinar on automotive and road safety titled Towards Safer Mobility, Regulations and Technologies. And this, ladies and gentlemen, this virtual event takes place just 3 days before the start of the 7th United Nations Global Road Safety Week. To all the attendees, a warm welcome once again. My name is Sumantra Bibhuti Barua, and I'm the consulting editor at ETAuto. The topic of automotive road safety, automotive and road safety, the importance of this topic cannot be highlighted strong enough, because this is a topic which is universally important, because the rate of accidents is on still a very high level, despite all the developments in terms of safety technologies as well as regulations by governments across the globe. In India, unfortunately, the number of road deaths is still the highest among all countries in the world. The ministry released numbers, numbers released by the Ministry of Road Transport and Highways for year 2021, it was 1.53 lakh, but according to certain reports, in 2022, the number of road deaths because of accidents in India, the number of reported road deaths due to accidents in India stood at 1.55 lakh, more than what it was the previous year. Whereas the focus is to bring down the number of road deaths. In fact, the government had announced earlier, in a year or so earlier, that the number of road deaths will be halved, which in other words means would be reduced by 50% by 2024. That's quite a challenging task, to say the least. But nonetheless, efforts have to be stepped up by all stakeholders. And in this objective of making mobility safer, making roads safer, two key pillars will be technology and regulation, which is what we are going to focus now over the next hour and a half. We are very glad to have really subject matter experts from the industry, and we have also the representation from industry body SIAM, which is Society of Indian Automotive Manufacturers. And it's my honor and pleasure to welcome all of them to this show, to this webinar, and starting with Mr. P.K. Banerjee, who is the Executive Director of SIAM. Mr. Banerjee, welcome to ETAuto and to this webinar. And in being a true automotive industry style, he joins just in time, and he joins in a moving car, all belted up, and which is what, and he's sitting on the rear seat and wearing the seat belt, which is a very good example worth practicing by all vehicle users. That's good. Good to see you, Mr. Banerjee. And next, I would like to welcome on the online stage Alejandro Furas, who is the Secretary General of Global Safety Watchdog, Global NCAP, which is Global New Car Assessment Program, and Alex, as he is more commonly known among certain circles. In certain circles, he joins us from Munich. Thank you for joining, Alex, and good to have you again on this webinar. And next we have Mr. A.V. Manikar, who is the head consultant, Bharat NCAP, upcoming initiative by the government for safer vehicles in India. And Mr. Manikar, he needs no introduction, especially in the circles of vehicle safety and regulations. He has been the Senior Deputy Director at Automotive Research Association in India, heading the Passive Safety Lab. So welcome to this webinar, Mr. Manikar. And next we have Mr. Girikumar Kumarish, who is the Principal Advisor, Road Safety, Future Mobility, and Expert Accident Research at Bosch India. He does very deep research and studies and represents his organization in various national and international forums. So good to have you, Girikumar. And last but not least, we have Mr. Durgadat Nedungadi, who is the Senior Vice President, India and International Business at Netrodyne. Welcome to the Durgadat, and good to have you. Okay, so the flow of the event is as follows. We will have a round of presentations from each of the speakers, and I would request each one of you, keeping in mind that we have an hour and a half, to keep each of our presentations within maybe 10 minutes max, so that we can also have a fruitful conversation, and then also allow our attendees to kind of interact with you all. And this is an opportunity which is not very common, and therefore we would also like to give the audience an opportunity to interact with the experts. So starting off, if I may request Mr. Banerjee to please share his opening remarks on this, on the theme of this webinar, not only on the theme of this webinar, but on the progress, on the developments that the automobile industry in India is taking in terms of making mobility safer in India. I mean, Mr. Banerjee doesn't have a...
Am I audible?
Yeah, you are. Please go ahead.
So very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's really our privilege and pleasure to be part of the very important webinar. As far as the SIAM leadership is concerned, we are completely aligned with the thought of Government of India that road safety is the most important priority for all of us. And not only the vehicles have to be safer, we are also aware and cognizant of the very fact that it's a 360-degree public awareness, enforcement, emergency care, and of course the discipline on road. Education is one important part, and that's where SIAM has actually started a very dedicated narrative-based key messaging called Surakshit Safar in Hindi, which translates in English, Safe Journey. And that was inaugurated by Honorable Union Minister Shri Gadkari ji during Auto Expo, and we had a Surakshit Safar dedicated pavilion. And our focus is we will be not only improving the vehicles to the best of the world-class facility, and that's where today you will hear about VNV CAP discussion on Bharat NCAP. But at the same time, we are also taking the Surakshit Safar and road safety education priorities to schools. So Kendriya Vidyalaya 1250, we will be touching upon with 9 specific modules of safety created and curated for middle school, primary school, as well as the secondary school students. And that's where we are looking for Sabka Saath, Sabka Prayas, and that's where we believe that road safety, initiatives will really make impact on ground. So we are pleased to be part of this deliberation. And Sumant, you have been the champion in pushing the important priorities for automobile industry. So we are happy to be part of ET webinar. Thank you.
And once again, appreciate your active participation and support. And and thanks for your kind remarks. And it is our responsibility too, as a media organization, to really push the cause of road and automotive safety. So on that note, speaking about automotive safety, a new initiative, as also kind of referred to by Mr. Banerjee, BNB SAP, or which is now in common parlance, we call it Bharat NCAP. So that is of really will be of great importance and will really help push the envelope, of safety envelope in India. So without further ado, I would like to request Mr. Manikar to please share his presentation with us. Mr. Manikar, over to you.
So as usual, it has taken little longer time, like Bharat NCAP coming up, but every good thing takes time. That is what has been a saying I read at Dubai airport. Nonetheless, I hope that there aya durust aya. So we are thinking that this Bharat NCAP, what we call today as Bharat NCAP, as a subset of Bharat New Vehicle Safety Assessment Program. Already the standard AIS 197 has been notified, as you know, by a ministry, and implementation date is now awaited from ministry. As it covers the complete applicability for M1 category up to 3.5 ton, and it provides the independent rating for adult occupant and a child occupant. As we know that the stage is already set by the global NCAP at a certain level for the consumer awareness, and we will take up from there. This 197 comprehensively covers the vehicle selection guideline, testing, retesting, reassessment, how do we allot the star assessment, protocol, rating calculator, modifier, etc., and with all administrative arrangements. If we look at further, we propose that for Bharat NCAP, vulnerable road user as per AIS 100 will be a prerequisite for qualifying any stars. Recommends Bharat star rating for popular models with sales more than 30,000 units as called as a popular, thereby covering majority of the passenger vehicle market. We recommend dual rating, I mean mandatory rating for the base variant and the optional rating for the additional variant, thereby bringing transparency to the consumer that we exactly know where is the base safety of any variant of a given model. In the areas where there are safety regulations mandated for all categories of vehicle, example pedestrian protection, seat belt reminder, etc., it becomes prerequisite for even single star rating to adhere to it. Now we will come to some of the new safety initiatives by ministry. As we all know, a lot talk on 6 airbag mandation for M1 category vehicle scheduled for 1st October 2023. There is already a draft notification in the place, and the seat belt reminder also for rear seat from 1st April 2023. The GSR is in place. Then 3-point seat belt, as Mr. Banerjee was demonstrating that we on the rear seat also, every occupant will have to wear 3-point safety belt, which we know that today seat belt wearing in India is one of the major concerns and contributes in a huge way into the fatality. So all these initiatives are going to help to curb the fatalities in a bigger way, as we see that the probability of getting injured in a severe way or fatality increases by 45% or 50% if one is not wearing a safety belt in the front row and 25% in the rear row. So needless to say the importance of this, and non-wearing also the penalties are there, and worldwide it is seen that only people are amenable to penalties once it taxed to their pocket. They will change. The society changes with only the penalties in many cases. Upcoming passive safety subjects under roadmap are, as you know, that pedestrian safety, India is one of the first country to align its regulation to fully align to the GTR 9 and implement it as a mandatory requirement for M1 category. And now we are getting into the new leg form Flex PLI to be mandatorily used, proposed from October 24, since we have always this vulnerable road user is one of the concerns in the fatalities. Rear crash is the another regulation which is on the pipeline, which is looking for rear impact, particularly from the fire safety. Whenever we are working with the multi-fuel vehicles, the gaseous fuel vehicle leaking any leakages are to be curbed. So this rear crash would be a mandatory requirement in coming days. Then the child seats isofix, even though it has not taken up in a big way, but if fitted, the isofix child system will have to comply a regulation 182, which is in line with 145, and be on Bharat NCAP along with this will together push the child safety in a much bigger way. The regulation deserves, and I believe that this is a need of society today, because more and more people uh, are traveling on the for a day-to-day commuting on a highways, and child seat usage is matter of prime importance also. Full frontal collision of AIS 201. This subject is under discussion, particularly for the optimization of the restraint system. This is very important, and we will be soon finalizing the plan for implementation on that. Steering impact AIS 96, a standard fully aligned with GTR 12, and also the amendments is covering now EVs and for all the shock protection related criteria. Then offset frontal cache AIS 98, the scope is getting enhanced right up to 3.5 ton, considering the fact that heavier electric vehicles will be the part of the game now. Side impact crash test AIS 99 also there will be enhanced scope which will be applicable, and the particularly the exemption granted for high-end higher vehicles with the R point above 700 millimeter will go away. So this will tighten the regulation further. If you look from that, there is a shift from all the passive safety subjects to the active safety subjects in days to come, and large number of subjects which will be under discussion, like these complete list on the screen: autonomous emergency braking for other than M1 category vehicle. Then AIS 184 is a driver drowsiness warning. Then autonomous emergency braking, blind spot information system, the moving object information system, lane departure warning, cyber security, software update, automated lane keeping systems, event data recorder, automatically commanded steering control. All these standards are on the anvil and under high priority, as this will lead to the further era of autonomous vehicles as we move along. So with this, I believe there is a big shift in Bharat NCAP thinking also for a future, that we will be working on 4 boxes. First box is to prevent the accidents altogether by all the technologies which will avoid the accidents, and all these active safety technologies will do that. The second box will definitely come is the driver assistance system box, where we will try to assist the driver to avoid the accidents. Then the third box, as we have seen the all passive safety measures, we will mitigate the injuries as we, and the fourth box is irrespective of that, if some accident happen, the infrastructure and the vehicle will allow the emergency golden hour care to be taken, emergency evacuation to be done, and e-call systems to be equipped. So these all together, all told effort is the next vision for Bharat NCAP and the regulations in days to come to take to safer India. And I believe that with this, I come to end of my presentation. Thank you for your kind attention, and I'm open for any discussion what the panel wants.
Thank you, Mr. Manikar. Very crisp and informative presentation, packed with a lot of information, and good to see the strong focus on both active and passive safety regulations, and many of which are yet to be implemented. So, ladies and gentlemen, to all the attendees, request to please keep your questions ready, because once we complete all the presentations and the panel discussion, we will take up your questions. So please keep them coming. You can drop it on the chat box or on the Q&A box, and we will pick it up from here. So thank you once again, Mr. Manikar. Indeed, you have been a safety champion for a long time. You're an industry veteran and highly regarded one. And we look forward to the implementation of Bharat NCAP under your consultation. And I'm sure it will contribute significantly towards safer mobility in India. And now, as once again, just to share with everyone, we are hosting this webinar now because this is the last working day before the start of the 7th United Nations Global Road Safety Week. This is the third year of the third UN Decade of Action. So the onus is on all of us in our own capacities, to whatever capacities we are in, to contribute towards the cause of road and automotive safety, and therefore this initiative is being hosted with that objective. So without further ado, now let's bring in Giri Kumar Kumarish from Bosch India. Bosch, as we all know, is the world's leading tier 1 supplier, and which also has a suite of technologies, automotive technologies for safety. So Giri Kumar will also focus on the socio-economic costs that accidents lead to, and they are also and how they can be arrested before being brought down significantly with the help of, as I mentioned, technologies and regulations. Over to you, Giri Kumar.
So thank you very much, Sunitra, and it's my privilege to join this esteemed panel. And also, it's really a privilege to be with Manika sir, Prashant Banerjee sir, and also with Alex. Of course, we all meet in various forums here and there every year and talk and discuss about same topics to arrest the road accidents. So it's really good that everyone, ETAuto, I would like to thank for bringing all of us just before the start of 7th UN Road Safety Week and taken off action. So with this, I would like to give a short introduction about my topic. So basically, I've worked on accident research topics for more than 15 years now with Bosch, and analyzed close to 15,000 accidents, around 10K in India and across the world as well. Whatever the comments I make is mainly as a neutral standpoint, as a researcher point, nothing to think in terms of a product or any business perspective. So as an advisor and research engineer, I would like to give you an insight of the socio-economic impact of road traffic accidents. So this is a quite neutral topic here. What I would like to give you a hint is that most of the speeches or most of the forums in big sessions, everybody talks India loses 153,000 people every year, and this translates to 3% of GDP loss. Yeah. So when we say 3% of GDP loss, we haven't thought where the study came from. This study came from 1988 study, which was like 35 years old study, when Indian GDP was around 296 billion, around 300 billion, with the loss of $8 billion. Now we are almost touching $3,200 billion as a GDP, and nobody has attempted to make the study because data is very, very difficult to get. And I would like to thank my interns and also my team, Thomas Lish, Jörg Monesh, and also a few other colleagues along with me, who helped him to scan close to 300 reports across the globe, including World Bank, World Economic Forum reports, to bring you this specific to India. So all these reports is in public domain. I will also share this and we can build upon it. So today, just to give a short hint, this is my team, and we have access to the global database, and we work with various countries with various databases, and we are a small team of 5 people take care of the entire global accidents. And this research paper is already published in SA International. You can get an access and go through this. So I will give you a hint of how do we use this and how this can be utilized for the benefit of India. Okay. So why do we need a socioeconomic loss estimate specific for road accidents? Is a big question. So now we have this is the distribution of fatalities of 153,000 fatalities across different road user categories. So this is a unique case where a truck was driving on a road and suddenly it lost its control and then rolled over, and big damage happened. And of course, the driver wasn't seriously injured. Now the question is, what is the loss for the country? So everybody will give some numbers because of the insurance, because of the goods loss, because of the infrastructure damage cost and the loss of a person cost. But there is no one unique system to estimate this. So we made an attempt to get this data done. So we utilized different costs involved in it. Close to 300 parameters has been analyzed across various things. And my team went around people left and right, top to bottom, to collect this data and give you these answers. And we use economic loss cost with direct and indirect cost, medical, productivity, vehicle damage, insurance, human property damage, legal and administrative pain, suffering, and lost labor cost. Okay. Now, if you just hold on to my presentation, you will be able to give you the exact number of a loss of such particular accident. And how do we use these numbers in order to estimate a policy making and make an effective decision is what is the study is all about. So this is what the history which I said. So these are various studies specific to India was done, but in the Western countries, every year it is a responsibility of the Ministry of Health, Ministry of Road Transport, and also Ministry of Financial System to give this report of socio-economic loss of a country for various different types of accidents. Yeah, in India we did not have this report, so we made an attempt to do this analysis and come up with a number which can be utilized as a base platform for all the upcoming studies. So this number can be utilized. For example, if I want to spend say X billion dollar in re-establishing an infrastructure, is it really good? Is it really worth? What is the map? What is the cost benefit estimate that we would like to do? This data is not available right now. With this, you can calculate how we can do. So this is the number of fatalities 2021, and number of injured people is 451. And we have here and there bits and pieces studies which was done in the overall country in the past. So basically, we did not create something. We utilized the existing methods of estimations which is used by World Economic Forum and World Bank and various other agencies which generally do this every year annually. But the problem with these kind of methods is all this the agencies or the organization have all the parameters handy, which has been released by their respective ministries. But in India, we do not have those numbers. So that's where the difficulty started. So thanks to this COVID holidays, 2 years, we were sitting at home and thinking a lot about how to get those parameters, made phone calls, and somehow collected these informations. So basically, we used three methods. We did not stick to one method. The three methods are human capital method, IRAP ROT method, and WTP method. Yeah, and we utilized this in this format where we had a cost component where human values is being taken into consideration, medical is taken into consideration, vehicle damage is taken into consideration, productivity, insurance, and property damage. Yeah. So the first thing is the medical cost. In the medical cost, we would like to touch upon direct and indirect cost. So this is done upon surveys and also from the RASI database and also whatever available from the available report. The cost varies from type of injury, fatal on the spot, fatal upon hospitalization, seriously injured, minorly injured. In indirect costs, we have medical, legal, food, transportation, funeral costs, everything. So the methodology, how exactly we calculated in formulation is available in essay paper. You can see this and also calculate by yourself and update this every year. Yeah. So the medical cost calculated roughly around $1.92 billion. Medical cost alone due to road safety, road accidents. Yeah. So next comes the productivity cost. Productivity cost is the factors what we utilized, the net per capita income on an average age of retirement. So I'm talking all in terms of India. Okay. So around 60 years, age of fatal victim, roughly around 72 years is what we got. YLL is the years lost. That means a person who's productive suddenly loses his life, and what is the years life lost, and the productivity loss of one fatality. That means the productive years with respect to the profession, what is the number, and discounted productivity loss was given by PLFS, which is around about 80,000. When you put it in a formulation, we estimated roughly $12.48 billion loss only in productivity cost due to road accidents in India. Then comes the property damage. This is another big game. So we were so confused to do this analysis because the overall topic is that we do not know how much is the repair cost, because some vehicles repair in Karnataka is totally different from Delhi. Yeah, so we have to do a lot of surveys, especially we face difficulties in trucks. So we have to consider what is the repair cost of trucks. This is only repair. I'm not talking about the loss of goods here. So repair cost is roughly around $1,500 for trucks, cars around $400, motorcycle around about 100, and others goes on. So only vehicle damage cost to fix it up roughly around $1.8 billion. So be in line with me with the numbers. I will show how exactly we sum it up and come up with a conclusion. Okay. Now we come to the second part of calculation called value of statistical life. So in this, we calculated GDP per capita and number of years life. Again, value of statistical life with WPP method and ROT method. And we estimated roughly around $21.3 billion from IRAP and $22.71 billion from WTP. So now we got a range of numbers. Yeah. So now we compared all the three methods, and we estimated the total loss to the country in 2019 is roughly around 15.71. Here we did not take human cost into consideration. Here with human cost, generally we say 38.81, round about $40 billion is the loss for the country, which is translating close to 1.35% of the economy loss. So now you might ask me a question that, okay, Giri, you have done all these things. What do I do with this? So now this can be utilized and mapped directly with the accidents. So this is where the game starts. So now we have 151,000 fatalities, which is 2019, because the study was done during that time and updated to 2021. With not much change, we lose only fatalities roughly around $13 billion, and injured is directly mapped to close to $2 billion, and with property damage as well in the bottom line. Now my question is like, how, if I wanted to save this 151 fatalities, not only number of people, it is also giving me a loss of close to $13 billion. Now, if I want to bring in certain interventions with X cost, is it valid to do a cost effective analysis or a cost benefit analysis? This can be directly translated to such kind of studies from this particular methods. Okay, and this is a platform what we gave it to the society, so that this paper is open in the public. You can understand, read about it, and you start building the blocks. So now we have a blocks for fatalities, injuries, and other thing, property damage, minor damage. We did not do it yet, and you can build your own system. For example, if somebody is working on infrastructure, he wants to construct a bridge, which that particular black spot is losing, say, 200 people every year, and what is the cost that is involved in that building of a bridge, translated to what is the number of people that is going to save, translated to number of fatalities, that GDP loss reduction that you can do. So this is kind of cross calculation was possible, and this is what we tried to do. Now, if you remember the start of the topic, I said that we were not in a position to estimate this kind of accident, what is a loss. Now, I have calculated the loss per accident, per vehicle category, per injury category, and each of this gives me this number. And this particular accident, if the driver is fatal, which is roughly around $150,000 is their loss, and if it's seriously injured, around 41,000, and minor injury is around 24,000, and no injury is a little bit higher because we did not get much data. So I would like to say that this first three is the most accurate, and you can use this readily for all the type of calculation. And on the right side, you see the total number of truck accidents and their estimated losses what we have. So I just gave you an example of a truck, how we did it. We can use it same for pedestrians, we can use it same for passenger cars, we can use it same for two-wheelers, any other things. And of course, we can also use the same numbers and the methodologies for estimating any infrastructural corrections what we have to make. So this is what we try to establish for almost 2 years research to bring in this complete methodologies in place to cross-correlate and cross-relate on the accidents against the cost, so that we will be in a better position to make right decisions for the policies and other thing. So that's what I have in my deck, and yeah, I think I have already summarized you most of the topics here. This unit crash cost can be utilized for CBAs and cost economic benefit analysis, and most of the time, most of the decisions are made based on their intuitions. So that can be totally eliminated because it's all scientifically proven with the numbers, and this can be brought in. And of course, this paper was the best paper in SAE, and you can always refer this paper for further upcoming. So I think I would like to thank you all for being with me, and any questions possibly I will pick it up. And I would like to thank all my co-authors. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Girikumar. Indeed, an eye-opener of a presentation, and with some very alarming figures, but much needed for everyone to be up to speed with it, so that we know how serious or how grave the scenario is, and what are the repercussions of the road accidents and even more unfortunate road fatalities. So I think it's very important that all stakeholders is very well educated about these numbers, these figures, because these are not just figures. These are reflection of how big and how enormous the whole challenge is. So it's the sooner this challenge is addressed, the better it is. Otherwise, it will lead to many a lot more losses. And rightly, very well pointed out, highlighted the kind of socioeconomic loss that a country has to kind of bear because of these unfortunate incidents. So thank you very much once again for presentation, and we will come with our share of questions, and I'm sure our attendees would also have them. I can already see some questions popping up on the Q&A box, but I would request all the attendees to be a little patient, because we have got only 2 more presentations to go before we come to the panel discussion, and then we'll take up these questions as well. So here today our theme has technologies and regulations as part of the title. So technology plays a very key role. Automobiles are getting advanced, more and more advanced, more powerful, and new technologies are being loaded on that. And when it comes to accidents, in India, the largest share in terms of vehicle segment is both commercial vehicles and two-wheelers. And here is one esteemed panelist who represents a technology company which focuses on whose objective is to develop technologies and implement them on fleet vehicles, goods transportation, and contribute and make the fleet safer across wherever they kind of fly on. And that would the more and more such technologies are developed and utilized, the more safer transportation could be. So let's hear from Durgadat Nedungadi from Netrodyne about how technology can and is already playing a role in making transportation safer. Over to you, Durgadat.
Thank you so much, Mantra. So very quickly, first of all, I thank ETAuto for bringing us all together, and also for the opportunity to be a part of this esteemed panel. And I'm just going to repeat a couple of things which a lot of us have already said. Firstly, all of us have talked about the 150,000 lives. It is, to me, if there is a plane crash, that occupies the media and all of our minds for years together. Unfortunately, what we're seeing here in India is 2 plane crashes a day, and very little of it is either spoken about or actioned on. And that's what really troubles most of us as we start delving into the data. And if we really look at what are the top 3 reasons for these fatalities, first, of course, is speeding, right? The likelihood and severity of crashes and therefore fatalities are exponentially related to the speed that the vehicle is moving in. Non-use of restraints. This has come up many times in the past. We've seen an unfortunate incident leading to regulations for backseat for backseat seat belts to be put. But that is the second big reason. And the third big reason is distracted driving. And today it's really scary. I live in Bangalore, and day in and day out, I see either taxi cabs, even buses, where drivers are driving at, not breakneck speeds, but at say 60, 65 kilometers an hour, and completely focused on their mobile phones. And this is a really big problem. And we need to find ways of ensuring that drivers stay focused and don't get distracted by things like mobile phones while they're driving. If I look at all of these together, the common theme really is human error. And what can technology really do to prevent human errors, to aid drivers and this is something which Mr. Manikar also mentioned, how can technology actually aid drivers so that in a real-time fashion, they're able to prevent an event from occurring which could lead to a fatality. That's the focus of technology that we are actually in the business of today. And again, just another way of representing this. There are multiple, areas which we need to fix if we need to reduce road crashes. Of course, awareness and enforcement, better road infrastructure, awareness of where the black spots are, absolutely safer vehicles. But we believe that the biggest difference can be made if we can impact positive driver behavior. And I'm saying positive driver behavior because it's not only about telling drivers that they're bad, it's also about rewarding drivers when they're actually good. So, and that really leads to drivers also embracing the technology, understanding that it's not about surveillance or a big brother watching over them, but something which helps them improve lives. So, and I'm not going to, we've talked enough about why road accidents happen and why we should invest in safety cultures. What technology can actually help with, and I'm just jumping in the interest of time to the last column, technology can definitely help with driver behavior. There is technology available today which can help, say, commercial fleets rank their drivers in terms of who are the best, who are not that good. They can actually train drivers automatically through videos. They can actually ensure that they retain their top drivers and are able to take action against the drivers who are actually causing the most accidents or commercial loss. And this is done today through driver scoring. I'll talk a minute about this a little later, but there is technology today which allows you to score your drivers and to pinpoint to them which areas they need to improve or focus on to become better and avoid accidents. Next is driver assistance. And this is, again, going back to what Mr. Manikar was talking about. The ability to tell the driver that there is an impending event is very critical, right? And we use vision-based AI technologies to actually recognize events before they occur and give real-time warnings in the cabin to drivers so that they can actually take corrective action. For example, if a vehicle is at particular speed, driving too close to the vehicle in front, right? Then if there is a warning to the driver to slow down and increase the following distance, then that could be one way of avoiding an incident, right? Similarly, if the driver is actually excessively yawning, or if he's distracted and talking on the phone, then if there is an in-cab alert which warns him real time that he should stop doing that, then that's the way you assist the driver and prevent an accident from happening. Real-time data on breaching safety norms. Today, the best way to do this is through video, right? And today, the technology is available where whenever there is a breach in an accepted driving behavior, a minute-long video can be captured, sent up to the cloud, to the fleet manager and the driver. The fleet manager and the driver together can view it and then decide what action needs to be taken to ensure that it does not happen again. And I'm talking about simple things like, speeding, wearing seat belts. Different organizations have different standards operating procedure where they say that without a seatbelt, a vehicle cannot move. So how do you implement that? That's through technologies like ours. Of course, in Western countries where road infrastructure is more consistent, we also track things like speed signs, stop signs, traffic light violations, U-turn on areas where you're not supposed to take U-turns. Unfortunately, we haven't yet reached that stage where all of these are consistent in India, but as soon as they are, then technology can actually play a much more inclusive part in actually reducing accidents. Even today, globally, the largest e-retailer in the world is our global customer. And they have publicly said that using our technology has actually caused them to reduce their accidents by 40%. And that's, 40% is non-trivial. If we could today reduce our accident levels in India by even 25%, that would be a huge improvement from where we are. So basically, and this is just one slide about what we do at Natrodyne, using AI and ML, artificial intelligence and machine learning, we analyze almost everything which is happening both inside as well as outside the vehicle. We track high G-force events, low G-force events, and the difference between the two really is that high G-force is when you actually have a crash. Low G-force is when you get, say you're in a truck and a motorcycle sideswipes you. It is still an event. It could still lead to fatality. But because it is low G as far as your vehicle is concerned, normal technologies don't track it. We do, right? As I said, we track things like in more developed road conditions, we track posted speed signs, traffic lights, stop signs, U-turn signs. But in India, we are able to do things like, weaving, hard turns, hard braking events, following distance, collision warning, all of these being what you see, what your vehicle is doing with respect to the road. Inwardly, with a camera which is focused on the driver, we track distracted driving, talking on the phone, drowsiness, seatbelt compliance. During the COVID days, face masks were important. We track that too. We have the ability to actually connect a driver to a vehicle through visual login. We have the ability, if required, to have a live stream on what's actually happening at that given point of time in the vehicle. And a very robust ecosystem, which is also available as a mobile app for the drivers. We have coaching systems, which are both manual as well as virtual, which is automated, to combine with the driver scoring system, which enables us to actually track and improve driver behavior. And as we said before, if we're able to improve significantly driver behavior, then that is the biggest step that we can take towards actually improving safety. We are in the business of saving lives, and we take great pride in the fact that data shows that we are making an impact. Thank you very much.
Indeed, you have highlighted very well in terms of how the role technology can play a critical support role in helping address the challenge of road accidents and thereby also prevent road fatalities. And it's great to know that one of your key customers has achieved a 40% reduction in the number of accidents, and 40% even is absolutely
it's non-trivial actually. Yeah,
significant figure. And even if we manage to achieve even half of that 40%, it still will be a very significant difference in the Indian context.
Absolutely.
So of course, good to see that with AI, I mean, there's a lot of debate now, where we should draw a line when it comes to AI. But I think when it comes to a cause like objective like making mobility safer, I think there should not be any line drawn in terms of borders.
There's no debate on this one, I think.
There's no debate on that, of course. Thank you very much once again, Durga. And now, last but not least, we have a very global perspective from on the whole topic of automotive and road safety, primarily automotive. And we have it from Alejandro Furas, Secretary General of Global New Car Assessment Program, commonly known as Global NCAP, and he shares this presentation from his office in Munich. Over to you, Alex. Thank you very much.
Good, Sumanta, thank you very much, and thank you very much to all my colleagues in the panel. I'm really honored to be part of the panel and be invited once again. My presentation is going to be touching base in basically all the points that you suggested me as an agenda. So I will try to roughly touch base on most of them, and the ones that we have deeper information, of course, I will expand it in a very comprehensive way. As you all know, and we have mentioned it many times already, Global NCAP is basically supporting the global plan, and in terms of the new decade of action and the challenge that has been proposed for the new decade of action towards 2030 is to reduce 50% the fatalities and serious injuries as well. As you probably know and heard already, in the new decade of action, it was mentioned and highlighted the importance and relevance of vehicle safety, and in particular the NCAP programs, so what the consumer information is doing to shift the market of for safer vehicles. At the same time, we are, let's say, putting the radar globally, but it's interesting to see this case where if we focus in the G20 countries, we're going to be seeing that the vast majority of sales globally are happening in those markets. So if we manage to level all those markets up to a higher regulatory requirements, like we have actually seeing the screen right now, we're going to be influencing the vast majority of vehicles in the world. And not just that, but consider that many of those cars are being sold as second-hand vehicles to other emerging economies as well. So the influence is going to be not just let's say on those specific markets, but also in the markets where those second-hand vehicles after a short use are exported. About the evolution of automobile in terms of safety content in India, we started testing in India in 2014. So we noticed at that time the popular models by price, this actually we focus our testing on those models, had frontal airbags as optional. Side airbags and ESC were an exemption, I would say. It was very hard to find the popular models with this safety equipment even as optional. 2016, we have seen that extra safety equipment tested compared with a car without the safety equipment in Global NCAP triggered a larger demand from the consumer side for cars with better safety equipment. And we have noticed that in models like, for example, the Renault Kwid, where despite the car not being a car with very good ratings in our program, even with the optional, the highest safety spec available as optional, which was just a driver airbag, the car could only achieve 1 star. But even though what happened was that the demand in the market showed that the vast majority of sales of that car at that time turned up to be cars with a driver airbag. So that 2016 for us was a turning point in the perspective of what the consumers tend to choose, limited by their capacity and economical capacity as well. But that's been a great change from our perspective. And 2018, 2019, after the announcement of new upgraded Global NCAP protocols, the manufacturers started to react pretty quickly to allocate and at least prepare the new projects and the new models with the technical capability of ESC, 6 airbags, pedestrian protection, etc. And I think one of the most relevant things that happened recently in India is the government regulations and the government announcement, which Mr. Manika went way more in detail. And a very nice presentation was actually the regulations in terms of 6 airbags, ESC, pedestrian protection, ABS in motorcycles, among other requirements. But this, we understand, are the most relevant changes and shifts in the Indian market. In terms of technology interventions and regulations, that made a large difference. ESC is, as you know, it's nowadays saving almost as many lives as the seatbelt. ADAS technologies, AB car-to-car, pedestrian and AB should be prioritized in government regulations. And I comment this with happiness after seeing Mr. Manika's presentation, showing that there's a high priority in the government to introduce regulations and agenda for the AB, and so driving assistant technologies like lane support systems, etc. So just to give you a picture, some governments are mandating today, or let's say earlier, it was around 2021, they mandated already in emerging markets to have AV technologies standard fitted by 2030. So there's nothing wrong, and I think it's very positive that governments indicate a lead time, a long lead time, like in this case, towards 2030, to have these technologies on board as a mandatory requirement. And it's appropriate, it's a very good time for India to do so. And as I said before, 6 airbags, ESC, pedestrian protection, ABS in bikes in India should definitely help to influence the market for safer vehicles. regarding the, let's say, regulatory and NCAP's relationship, and this is something that I wanted to touch base on. There's a misconception that this is just a representation. Please don't take it as a accurate representation of anything. But what happens is that people tend to think, or some people tend to think, that NCAPs and regulations are competing, and by far is not the case. We both actually complement each other. And it's not just that. If you see the UN indicative action recommendations and the WHO as well, it talks very clearly that you need to have regulatory framework at the time you have an NCAP as well in the markets. So both need to be coexisting in the market in order to assure that cars will go for safer vehicles. But basically what the NCAPs do usually is to put the level of 0 stars, 1 stars right at the edge of the requirements, of the minimum requirements to pass a regulation. And on top of that, what we do, we give star rating, informing consumers which one of the cars which is already passing the UN regulations, which one of these vehicles is, let's say, protecting better than the others. That's what NCAPs do. So we basically fine-tune and give more detailed information to consumers what happens beyond passing regulations. Just as a matter of reference, usually a 5-star car is related to a car where passenger integrity is pretty much secured or without permanent damages after the crash tests that are performed. That's actually what a 5-star car means. And we were talking about also vulnerable road user assessment. That includes also not just passenger integrity, but also vulnerable road users integrity. Just to put a little bit of in the more technical context, probably is not I don't want to spend too much time on this, but if we take the IAS as the thorax injury as one of the serious injury, definitely. And if we take a look at what NCAPs and regulations do, as you know, the AIS 3, when there is a probability of less than 30% of happening in a 56 kilometers an hour, the UN would take it as an acceptable chest injury. While on an NCAP side, on a 64 kilometers an hour, that in order to consider that chest as a good protection, let's say green top protection, the probability of that injury should be less than 5% at 64 kilometers an hour, just to put you in a more technical distance between both criteria. Now, diving into the new protocols that Global NCAP have introduced, you know, Latin NCAP, Euro NCAP, and all the NCAPs are usually updating protocols. That was the case with Global NCAP as well. It's the second time that Global NCAP updates its protocols and assessment on emerging markets, especially safer cars for India and safer cars for Africa. That was introduced last July 2022. And basically, the goal of this new protocol is to award or try to praise manufacturers when the technologies or certain technologies, certain safety aspects are, let's say, available in the car. That doesn't mean that they are standard. So we are first aiming to award that the car is capable of having, for example, ESC optional or having side airbags, side curtain airbags. We wanted to focus on praising those actions from the car manufacturers and not requesting them as a standard right away, because in that case, probably let's say the target or the challenge will be too far to achieve in a short time. So that was actually the main goal of this new protocol. And as you most of you are aware of, basically there is a scoring requirement, and also there's a fitment requirement for ESC, pedestrian protection, and side curtain airbags. And all of them, as I said, ESC, pedestrian protection, curtain airbags need a certain fitment rates in order to achieve the different star ratings on top of this scoring of a front and side impact, which now is done to all the cars. So we have to perform front and side impact to all vehicles. Also in the same line, we are basically divided the protocols starting 2022 into two timelines. One goes 2022 and 2023, and then the second one goes 2024 and 2025. And the reason why we're doing this is basically we are increasing in the second half of the protocols, it's 2024, 2025, we're increasing the requirements. We're challenging a bit more manufacturers to achieve better results. In terms of child occupant protection, we have introduced many changes, but like, for example, the side impact assessment, but you're also trying to work very hard in terms of improving the child seat selection and try to see some improvement in the Indian market with better child seats, better child restraint systems, which at some point is a challenge, or was a challenge at the beginning, but the recent probably year and a half or so, we have seen that there is some kind of improvement in the market, that certain seats with better performing results are easier to get. I'm not saying they are cheaper, that's still a problem. The price is a problem on good performing child seats, but we have seen better child seat performing better in some tests, being more and more available in India. Regarding the socioeconomic cost, and definitely I appreciate and I praise it was an impressive presentation from Bosch. But in our side, basically, I just wanted to add some comments. The loss of human lives and serious injuries are still by far the higher cost we are paying, or society is paying when we're talking about road fatalities. A lost life in a family has an emotional impact and economic impact in future generations. Just imagine, for an instance, a family where the parents or let's say the income, those bringing the income into the family are seriously injured or they are killed, then the younger generation has to step up and start working and drop studies or drop education in order to get the proper income. So this is actually definitely a very deep economic impact in the family. The other thing that I would like to mention is life. Life is way more valuable than a car or spare parts, and this equation might be a little bit inverted in some of the markets that we are working in, especially in emerging markets. Still, the life of a person is worth, in some cases, less than a car, and that actually is not, we understand it probably is not helping this person. I think this equation is not helping very much to shift for a more decisive and higher speed change to safer vehicles. Urgent action is needed by all society. So government, in India, we have a good leading government offices and government initiatives as well. Industry, society, media, fleet managers, and many others, we need a commitment in order to improve the situation. Now, coming to the Global NCAP's testing for conventional vehicles, EVs, and maybe autonomous vehicles, we have some things to highlight. Battery-based vehicles, battery-based electric vehicles are usually heavier than the same car with internal combustion engine. Battery-based vehicles, electric vehicles are, let's say, we are testing them under the same protocols as internal combustion engine vehicles. And there are aspects like electric shock risk and all that, which we are assessing on top of the rest of the safety aspects that we are already testing and assessing every time we test a new car. So precaution with monitoring the batteries. One, we're doing the test and high temperature points and smoke and fumes and also fire. That's something we pay attention at the time we run the test. But in terms of the safety assessment, the electric shock and protection is actually on the top priorities. Global NCAP will likely expand its assessment in the next protocols for India and emerging markets to more ADAS technologies. So this is happening, this is coming as well, but we don't have yet defined a strategy on how to promote the ADAS technologies in the near future. Just a short message that I also share every time I can. Some governments, unfortunately, are thinking, or many parts of society are thinking that once we have the autonomous cars, then all the problems are going to be solved. So we shouldn't do anything from now until then. And basically, the message is that until we have a large amount of autonomous cars on the road that will be able to influence or bring a change in road fatalities and all that, we are still far away in time. And on the way, a lot of lives are going to be lost and people seriously injured. So we need to take action right now. Definitely, ADAS technologies are a game changer from our perspective. And we think that they have to be, somehow they have to be promoted and speeded up and incentivized in one way or the other. Some things that were mentioned here from the other presenters in terms of human error. Yes, I agree that there is a lot of human error on the road, but there are other technologies or many technologies nowadays, like, for example, ADAS technologies that can compensate or at least can slash a little bit the influence of the human error. When we're talking about speeding, for example, which is speeding is a problem, but we're talking about speeding, I always challenge the audience to filter the risk that we're talking about, like speeding in this case, to filter it after or through the 5 pillars of the decade of action. 5 pillars which are talking about leading agency, which is talking about safer infrastructure, safer vehicles, safer road user behavior, and also talking about the after crash, or let's say post crash attention. If we filter across all of them and the pillars themselves, it's hard to say that only by solving the problem with action in one pillar is going to make things happen in a better way, but all of them are relevant and all of the 5 pillars have to be addressed. Now, when it comes to driver behavior, there is many things that can be sorted out by the vehicle. For example, as I was saying, speeding, you have now ISA, which is an intelligent speed assistance system that can read the traffic signs, also the GPS location, and reduce the speed of the vehicle according to what is allowed at this area. We also have, of course, the ADAS technologies like autonomous emergency braking system, lane support systems, lane keep assist systems, and also the AIK, and also, which is emergency lane keep assist, and also the blind spot detection as well. And all those systems together are, in my opinion, compensating a lot of this human error that is being detected on the roads. Distracted driving, of course, is one of them as well. So last but not least, I wanted to wrap up with some things that we have encountered in the latest results, latest cars we tested in India. Popular cars, I'm not referring popular cars by the volume, I'm referring to popular cars more talking about the price and the families that actually they are with a lot of economical effort are managing to buy their first vehicle, the first car, usually are the cheapest one in the range. And those are the ones that we understand should be the ones that should be protected the first, because those families are the most vulnerable ones when we have a fatality or a road crash. And of course, they sometimes cannot pay for certain options, which we think optionals, certain safety equipment should not be optional, should be standard in all vehicles. That's our concept of democratizing vehicle safety. So basically, Suzuki Alto, the Maruti Suzuki Alto K10 was a 2-star, 0-star for child occupants. Maruti Suzuki Swift, 1-star for adults and 1-star for child occupants. Maruti Suzuki Espresso, 1-star for adults, 0 stars for child occupant protection. Maruti Suzuki Ignis, 1-star and 0 stars. The Maruti Suzuki Wagon R, 1-star and 0 stars. But on the other hand, we have good news like Mahindra Scorpio N with 5 stars adult and 3 stars in child occupants. The Taigun Kushaq, 5 stars adult, 5-star child occupants, and the Virtus Skoda, the Volkswagen Virtus Skoda Slavia, 5 stars in adult and 5 stars in child occupant protection. What I'm saying is that it is possible in India to produce 5-star cars. I mean, really much safer cars. And I'm very confident, and I would like to make an open challenge or proposal for Maruti Suzuki being the largest market share holder in terms of sales in the Indian markets, that they become to the lead. They know how to do it. They do for exactly the same cars in other markets, where they offer very good safety equipment. And I'm very optimistic that with the change in regulation, the Bharat NCAP and all that, they will be able to also achieve very good ratings and lead the market, not just by sales, but also by offering the cheapest and more affordable cars in the market with a very good safety on them as a standard. So that would be it from my side. Thank you so much for your attention, and well, I'm open for questions.
Thank you very much, Alejandro Furas, for your very comprehensive presentation. And good to note that you are also exploring the protocols for commercial vehicles and also autonomous vehicles, because increasingly before autonomous vehicles become a reality in mass scale, or commercial vehicles would also be, they also form a segment which are involved in the larger number of crashes across the world, definitely in India. So indeed, a very good presentation. And yes, the remarks that he made towards the end in terms of the spectrum of safe vehicles in India, but according to global NCAP standards, there could be, it's a topic of debate. We were supposed to have a representation from Maruti Suzuki India, but due to some last-minute exigency, he couldn't participate. But I guess it's also there are two sides of the debate, and at maybe another occasion we will have a hearing from both the sides. So, but nonetheless, overall, it's good to see that the level of safety focus is on the rise, and the level of awareness of safety in the consumers' minds is also on the rise. So with that, we come to the end of the presentation session by the esteemed panelists. Once again, thanks to all of you for your sharing your remarks and your presentations. And I would also like to request Mr. Banerjee to be back on the online stage by switching on his camera, because we would like to have him on the during the presentation. Again, starting the discussion with you, Mr. Banerjee. We saw the last presentation by Alejandro Furas. Every time Global NCAP releases its test results for under its Safer Cars for India program, there's a lot of kind of news that is there, that makes the rounds in terms of the Indian vehicles a safety quotient. But in India, if you look at it, there are certain, it has its own standards, and there are vehicles according to global NCAP ratings from 1 star, 0 star to 5 star, all made in India. But from a from a vehicle manufacturer's perspective, now what is the focus now in terms of not striking the balance between engineering safer vehicles, but at a point where it is still affordable for the larger masses?
Thank you, Sumanta, for the very good question. I think it's a kind of conundrum we are facing about the inclusive, affordable, safer, environmentally benign mobility versus the cost of acquisition of the vehicle versus the preference of a customer to get purchase decision well informed. So therefore, we have been always for safer vehicle. We have been always working for road safety mitigation initiatives in whatever form it can be in 4Es, but mandating options in a manner that customer is deprived of certain priorities is not our way of looking at things.
Shifting to you, Mr. Manikar, one of the key upcoming regulations will be 6 airbag norms. I mean, you have been a passive safety. You have been a safety expert always, and you have led you have headed the Automotive Research Association of India's passive safety lab for a long time. Tell us, in terms of the difference it could make the overall safety quotient of a vehicle only by this addition of these additional airbags.
The intervention of 6 airbag definitely is a welcome, provided we create a prerequisite culture that wearing safety belt. First is the wearing safety belt on all seats, and of course at every occupant, because in India, unfortunately, we most of the regulations worldwide, if you look at, they are with the occupancy on the front seat more. But in India, we find that majority of the vehicles are also occupied on the rear seats in a big way. So there is a need for protecting the occupant at every seat, and 6 airbag solution will go a long way. Yes, it is challenging. There are a toothing problem. There are supply chain issues. There will be bigger challenges for small car. I do understand, but it is not unsurmountable. People have produced export models with the same fleet of the vehicle elsewhere, fitting 6 airbags and exporting it. So why deprive a Indian, I would say, consumer of a better safety when it is possible to bring the change? Any change, there will be inertia, but I think it is a welcome change, and we will realize after some time that this change was for better. We will have to take the pains of it. Anything first time is also a baby delivery. Also first time is a pain, but the mother bears it. That's then only gets fruits of that. So let us bear the pains of that change, and also we do it cautiously. We don't do it just by impulsive way. I am saying that consultative, collaborative way, together finding the right solutions. And if there are issues, we have a lot of good community to support us on technology. OEs understand, and let's move ahead together. The magic is only possible when media, agency, government, industry hands join together. Only magic can happen. Magic word itself has media, agency, government, industry, and consumer also. So everything together is a magic. Otherwise, no, there is no magicianry.
Yeah, very well put there. I mean, didn't think that the word magic could also be an acronym. So very well packaged acronym there. Thank you for sharing that. Alex, you are very well aware about this upcoming norm for the 6 airbags, but all these airbags get installed in the structure of the vehicle. Yes, barring maybe the dashboard and the steering wheel. So body construction also becomes very critical, and the engineering of the body in white Well, I mean, this question was originally intended for the OEM representative, but we don't have it. But tell us now how much of a difference will it make? Let's say putting those 6 airbags and additional maybe 2 or 3 airbags to a vehicle, existing vehicle, and maybe putting all those 6 airbags in a vehicle which has been ground up on a very designed for these, keeping in mind that there would be 6 airbags fitted on them.
Good. Basically, let's put it this way: if a car or a platform or a vehicle, a body, it's designed already to have the 6 airbags, it's already half the way easier to add those airbags in production. But you have a middle step. There are some cars we have seen in the markets, in emerging markets, where they are originally planned for the mature economies with 6 airbags, but they have not had the fitments and let's say in the tooling, when you produce the different metal parts and the structure, there were not those fitments and anchorages were not there for the airbags. So that requires some improvement. But usually manufacturers don't change the tooling that much in some little things, because sometimes it's more cost to undo things rather than keep them as they are when it comes to tooling and stamping and all that. So we understand that when the models have already the capability of, then we don't see a reason why they shouldn't have those fitments and anchorages for the airbags. Structurally wise, yes, they need to be improved. I mean, when you are, it's not because of the airbags themselves, it's because they are supposed to, when you put an airbag, it's supposed to be fully or filling out or trying to follow some kind of regulation or technical criteria. So when you have this criteria on board, that means that it's not just fitting the airbag, but also to make the body to react in a certain way that the airbag is effective in order to protect the occupants, which is the main target. So if you're using, for example, a regulatory requirement 135, or when you're using for the side pole, when you're using the regulation 95 for the side impact, there is one case. But NCAPs usually have a higher biomechanical requirements, a little bit higher than regulations. That's actually what I showed in my presentation. The idea to stretch things a little bit more is try to pull the markets while the government is setting the base, and you push the market from the other side. It's like a push-pull game. And just in order to say that, I mean, be aware that Global NCAP will soon follow Latin NCAP actions in order to make the side impact protection even much more challenging. We're going to have heavier barrier with higher speed, and also the pole impact will become oblique and a different dummy, which requires a lot of improvements in the cars. So put it in one way or the other. Nowadays, it's kind of an easy entry level requirements for side impact protection in India from a Global NCAP perspective, and then that will have to be ramped up. So the models that I've shown in my presentation, the Swift, Ignis, all those cars, I mean, these 2 cars are sold in Europe and 6 airbags fitted as standard. So I don't see why those cars can't have it on board and can't have the airbags on board. So Celerio is another case, which we haven't tested, by the way. But those cars, I mean, I don't see why those cars cannot be fitted with the details. I don't remember the technical details when we inspected them, if the systems were on board or not, I mean, to anchorage the airbags. But just one last comment that I forgot to mention in my presentation in relation to all this. Seatbelt use is definitely a key thing, but I want to open a challenge for all the manufacturers, not as an NCAP, but more as a safety engineer, someone into the engineering. I haven't seen one manufacturer that all of us were talking about the relevance of the seatbelt use, but I haven't seen one manufacturer developing I would say a robust seatbelt reminder system that basically cannot be tricked. Not like you buy a buckle and you put it in the buckle, it cannot be tricked. And at the same time that the car, if everyone in the car is not clicked or buckled, that the car will not go over 20 kph. And I have said in many conferences, and no one from the industry is picking this up. I know you have a lot of things that you have to revise in a car. It's not just that. But this is one thing I keep repeating. Probably one manufacturer, someone will pick it up and say, hey, I have a solution for that. So when the car people are not buckled up, the car will not go beyond 20 kph. That's just, I mean, a simple thing. And today with the technology we have should not be a challenge.
And that's interesting. And I would add another component to this, not only the seatbelt, but also the sunroof. Because now with the growing trend of sunroof and this panoramic sunroof, a lot of unintended use there are cases of unintended use by not so aware consumers. Mr. Banerjee, you have been hearing the inputs. And anything on these lines being discussed within SIAM? Because now these are also safety factors. It will have a positive impact on the safety quotient of the safety of the occupants, and also your thoughts on the impact that the 6 airbag, the difference that the 6 airbag norms could bring.
See, it's very interesting debate. When we talk about the speed controllers have been put in. First, the speed controllers came in the form of external device fitments which were tampered with. Then subsequently, we came up with speed limiting function devices where it's a ECU based. Now there are situations that when SLF has been mandated in the country, people are asking that I want to go from Chennai to Bangalore, I want to go from Delhi to Chandigarh. I don't want a vehicle which has a speed limiting function active. So please ensure that I am given a vehicle which is tampered with. And the business is actually specifically tampering it to facilitate the customer's need. Same is the situation in case of helmets. Even though there is a helmet mandate, Manikar is from Pune. Pune has the largest two-wheeler, density in the country. The citizens group is going to the authority and saying that we don't want to wear helmet. So the most important and interesting part is that technologically everything is possible. So let me assure you that technologically everything is possible. It's a matter of taking a judicious decision that whether the offer of a particular type of features or products be given to customer or not. So for example, we can decide that all the cars in the country should have 10 airbags. It's fine. That's a choice. But the question is, are you addressing the issue of the two-wheeler where the family is traveling with 2 child sitting in the fuel tank of a two-wheeler with wife sitting at behind? They should have enough reach to migrate to, if not 10 airbag, 0 airbag 4 box, which is safer than the two-wheeler. Right. So that's why the question is this Bharat safety assessment program. It cannot be overemphasized, because in European country and in America, for example, what is the 90%, 95% population of the vehicle is car, but in our country is 85% population is two-wheeler. So it has to be accordingly seen. We cannot overemphasize the beyond the point just to push some narrative or some agenda for some interested group, because we need to go by the accident data research analysis. And I think Bosch is doing a good work, and based on that, we should be very mindful whether the occupant safety takes the preponderance over the road safety, pedestrian safety, and vulnerable road user sections. So we have to be very mindful that a particular narrative which is not relevant to Indian context cannot be pushed beyond its limits. So that's our limited point. Otherwise, of course, safety is paramount, and both occupant and road users, vulnerable ones, need to be protected. Whether the engineering is good enough for it or not is a question, but enforcement and education is also equally important, as the case is in helmet and as the case in speed limiters we have seen.
Absolutely critical. And I think the answer lies in the right blend of adopting safety engineering, and also keeping in mind the market conditions and the market dynamics, and also which also includes the affordability levels. But the thing is, the efforts has to be on from all sides to ensure that the number of road fatalities and number of road accidents is on the decline. So one question I'll pick up from the Q&A box. This one is for specifically for Mr. Durgadar. And as Mr. Banerjee was also saying, we have to take into consideration the accident data in India, and there it shows. Correct me if I'm wrong, Giri Kumar. Commercial vehicle segment is the highest when it comes to involvement on road crashes in India. Is that correct?
Yes, involvement is correct. Yeah.
Yeah. The question from Mr. Durgadar is: are you tying up with the OEMs or providing this technology in the aftermarket?
Great question. If you had asked me this question maybe 45 days from now, the answer would have been, we've already done it. But right now we're in in the final stages of actually discussions with one of India's largest OEMs to factory fit our product and technology so that it benefits, widest possible audience of commercial trucks in India. There is a challenge, right? I mean, affordability in the space of commercial vehicles is very, very low. It's an extremely competitive business. So every additional 100 rupees of spend per month is looked at very, very closely. So adoption is going to be tough in the wider, broader spectrum of the pyramid. But we are hoping that, as with most technologies, the premium segment of commercial fleets will adopt quickly, and then the technology will percolate downwards. So the short answer to your question is very soon. So we're in talks, and we should have results very soon.
That's good to know. And best wishes with your with the discussions and negotiations with your potential clients, customers. Next question. This one is for Giri Kumar. Okay, some compliments there for your presentation, and followed by question. It says good analysis of the socio-economic costs of accidents and fatalities. What Narayan Prasad, who is asking the question, he wants to know is there any similar analysis or studies for inefficient stroke insufficient infrastructure and associated economic impact?
Anything related to socio-economic impact related studies in the last 20 years, we have not seen any study of such kind in India very specifically. So we don't have any studies. But what we have done in this study is we have given a platform to build on this. So we have created as 4 different blocks like infrastructure, safer road users, safer vehicles, emergency in the same block. And each of the organization who's working in this sectors can pick up these parameters and methods and build their own structure of it and publish a report. That's not a problem. And if they need any support in building such blocks, the research paper I'm happy to share, and also I'll be helpful to build such, help them to build such things, because data is not there, and we as a community has to build this.
Okay. And staying with you, Giri Kumar, since you represent Bosch and the e-call feature. In fact, I was in conversation with a senior colleague of yours, and this e-call feature, which Bosch already supplies to, let's say, OEMs like maybe Mercedes-Benz, which are implement, and that is also very, very critical, could also be a very, very critical safety or life-saving feature in the event of an unfortunate crash. Is there any kind of discussions or deliberation in terms of making it a kind of a regulation to have e-call feature in the vehicles?
I think you would have spoken this with some business teams. I do not want to comment on the feature, but for me, from an accident research perspective, as an independent researcher from Bosch, I would rather say to landscape what is the need of such systems is very, very important. E-call is very beneficial for a large-scale fleet management operations and other thing where you need some fix, okay? But if you take at urban-related accidents or anywhere, take an example of Germany, take an example of US, you do not have a house or a tea shop next 20-30 kilometers. So e-call is very important. In India, can just show me a half a kilometer stretch where you do not have a person. If there is an accident, there are 200-300 people just blocking it. Yeah, e-call is not in. That's where we have to understand the design of e-call for India has to be a little bit different, where it has to help the ecosystem to understand what has happened and medically prepare, rather than just informing that such an incident has happened. So what in the Western world is just an incident intimation to the ecosystem. For us, it's an information given to an ecosystem where the people has to be ready enough to handle such situations. So this is where the debate
and support in the requirement.
So as a researcher per se, we can, as Prashant Banerjee sir said, he said technology, everything under the umbrella of sun we can do. But whether it is relevant for our country, specifically when I say country, India, is where I stand and come out with the data and say that this is required, this is not required. If required, this has to be designed for Indian needs. That's very important. That's where I come from. And of course, e-call is a very great system. It has to be redesigned a little bit in a way to package it for our country needs.
Absolutely right said there, because no, when it's in the case of India, it's in largely it's never a kind of plug in and play approach. Because I mean, Alex, this is particularly for your information also. Since you mentioned about ADAS, ADAS is a growing trend in passenger vehicles in India, and vehicle OEMs, volume OEMs, car makers like Mahindra and MG, for example, have started giving them putting them in the vehicles. But there are instances of unintended use of ADAS features. So now people like engaging certain feature and taking their kind of attention off of and hands off the wheel, which is a very scary thing. So, but the thing is, yes, as awareness grows, it will also improve. Yes, Alex, you have something to say.
Yes, just a comment on that. It's unfortunately many people are using some driving assistant technologies as an autopilot.
Yeah.
That's probably what you're saying.
Yes.
There's a problem, a large problem, is that and it's part of the communication how these technologies are sold by the car manufacturers. And we have a lot of cases in Europe where instead of they just talk about co-pilot or automatic pilot or whatever, those technologies are driving assistance technologies, and that warning for the consumers must be there the whole time, and not just branded as a autopilot, self-driving, or whatever you want to call it. That is going to mislead the consumers into that. That's the point. It's an assisting driving technology that assists the driver in case the driver is impaired or he has a problem. That's it. That's all it is.
Absolutely, and it's also all the more relevant and important for emerging markets like India, where the motoring history is not as long as it is in the West, for example.
Something very interesting. Most of us, when I started to use, and I finally could get a second-hand car with AB, and I started to drive, I had to re-educate myself because the system was breaking and warning me of certain things. I said, come on, for me, it's not a danger, there's no problem with that. But all of a sudden, the car is detecting it. So it's retraining you once again. Right. To drive better. I mean, if we that's ramping up with people getting used to this technology, especially of people of certain age, that's a bit of a challenge in some markets. But I strongly believe that these technologies will not just help to avoid certain risk situations, but also we re-educate how we drive. Most of us, at least. This is by far not self-driving or autopilot, whatever, that we're far from that.
I think, therefore, I think OEMs also have an additional responsibility to ensure that while they kind of put them in the vehicles, also maybe their marketing teams can also kind of start really sensitizing and educating the customers on the absolute correct way to leverage these technologies for the intended use, not for any unintended use. Staying with you, Alex, a couple of questions which I see on the question box. One is, how does the introduction of Bharat NCAP could affect global NCAP? How are they going to coexist in parallel, considering both are harmonized with only few differences? And another question related to global NCAP is, one sec, I'll just, yeah. ADAS features and capabilities are largely marketing jargon today. What is being done by global NCAP to benchmark, standardize the advertised features in vehicles?
Good. First, the first question is straightforward. I will bring just my view, and not necessarily the global NCAP view, but I think it's going to be pretty much aligned. I think that when Bharat NCAP is up and running, we should allow Bharat NCAP, give the floor to Bharat NCAP to develop and do what they need to do. Having said that, we are in principle not stopping voluntary testing. If manufacturers come to us and say, I want to test with you, that's I think it's not going to stop. But we should give the floor to and give the room and the space that Bharat NCAP needs to develop in India. And because this is something, I mean, if you retrospectively, what Global NCAP was trying to do at the beginning was exactly that, trying to encourage, promote, help, and try to make a local NCAP exist. And what we have now with Bharat NCAP, it's exactly that opportunity. Beyond any technical discussion, whether if one is in one end or the other, that we will see that when Bharat NCAP start publishing the cars and protocols, etc. But the point is that was actually what we were all expecting since the beginning. So now we have it. Let's give the room to make it work and try to actually start exactly doing what we've been doing, changing the consumer information to make the things work different. About the ADAS technologies. it started by Euro NCAP actually rating or warning consumers when there was an ADAS technology that was not properly marketed. Yeah, and they rated that. That happens around, so it's 2018. It's likely that we, from global NCAP in particular, but from emerging market NCAPs, we will start doing that when that happens. But something curious, just for you to know, in Brazil, we have seen an explosion in AV sales, and not in very expensive cars. We're talking about mid-range to low-range cars. And so in a way that some of these popular cars are all of a sudden getting the AV as a standard, because it makes more sense economically speaking from the equation for the manufacturer to make it standard rather than keep it optional. Yeah. And I'm talking about very, very large, good selling cars. But the interesting thing is that they managed to make people buy those technologies and flood the market with them just by the comfort concept and not by the safety concept. So basically that you are more comfortable because there's someone like a guardian angel behind you, that if something goes wrong, the car will brake for you and all that. And selling that idea, that's how Brazilians started to buy and were willing to buy these types of technologies, not because of a safety feature, although it is a safety feature, clearly. But this is actually just a curiosity on board. And they were not even selling it as an autopilot. They were just saying it's a comfort thing that you can be a bit more relaxed when driving because there's something, the car is looking after you, not just with the passive safety, but there's something else on the car. And this is how they managed to flood the market with the AV. I mean, it's amazing how this is changing in Brazil.
Good to know that. And a question for Mr. Manikar says, sir, I understand new safety regulations are coming up in India at a very rapid pace to make India safer. This will definitely contribute. But another aspect of road safety is proper infrastructure and roads, which is also a grave concern. Are laws for road infrastructure at par with developed countries also under consideration? Basically, what the attendee wants to ask is, are the laws for road infrastructure at par with developed countries also under consideration by the government?
I would say that the question is very important. We have to have everything go hand in hand. Infrastructure also has to be compatible. When we are talking about new infrastructure, the new highways being built, they are being built with the good road furniture along with it. So road restraint systems but correcting the old infrastructure over a short period of time is a big challenge that we are facing. For example, blind spot corrections and all those which is a long run process which will continue to happen. But the point is well taken. As we read a good rating system for cars, we also need a good rating system for roads, and also continue to audit the roads for their performance in terms of safety and the compatible road infrastructure. And there are a good number of standards Indian Road Congress is adopting. I had an opportunity to present in Indian Road Congress one time on this particular aspect to sensitize when the crash norms were on, so that we get a maximum advantage if we have a pardonable structures or compatible road furniture. Things are coming up. They are putting good road infrastructure. Particularly, the good example is Bombay-Pune Expressway, where they have declared the zero fatality zone and taken a lot of efforts to improve the infrastructure, road infrastructure, where it was not good earlier and fixed up, and the new infrastructure which is coming with a better and better engineering, which is compatible with the speeds and the vehicle engineering.
Yes, it does. And also another quick question maybe you would like to answer is, okay, the question is around event data recorder. The question is towards event data recorder standard in the roadmap. Are there any plans or ideas to set up a central data repository which researchers can make use of? And would such data be useful in insurance claims? How do we ensure data privacy on such systems?
Most of the policy makers are getting convinced that this is a useful thing. Of course, we have to be a little bit careful on that. Both flip side of that is the protecting the privacy part of it is a separate issue, and knowing the public domain part of the data for the event recorder is a welcome step. And Initially, it will come, in my opinion, it's my this one, event data recorder for the commercial vehicle and hazardous good vehicle will be the first fleet of the vehicle where such things will come up, and is overdue. Rather, some of the people voluntarily are doing it as the fleet owners, but as a government policy support can come in those areas very quickly, and it will really help, and it has helped many parts of the world also. And similarly on the bus, where the routes people are stressed for the duty hours. Yes, please.
One question, maybe Mr. Banerjee, you can take up. This is I can sense it, though I'm not an engineer, but I can sense this could be the question in the minds of hundreds, if not thousands, of people. Is that what is the role of mechanical engineers in the safety of automobiles? Because everything is becoming AI and ML based.
See, being a mechanical engineer myself, my views could be biased and prejudiced, but notwithstanding, I believe that ultimately any logic computer works on that is based on the fundamentals of the activities which we do mechanically. So digitization is actually computerization, whereas the activities are all mechanical. But of course, the control of the activities are like a brain, of our all limbs, the brain controls. So that's where the electronics and computer part, software, hardware part of brain of a vehicle is increasing. And as you know that we have 5 senses. So we have some kind of vision and audio, visual, and touch-based feelings. But the most important thing which we have is that we are able to be emotive and respond to the situation. So if you find a lion in front of you, immediately all your senses, decides that you have to run away from the spot. So that's where the intelligence has not yet come in the vehicle, but we are moving towards that with AI and machine learning coming in. So collision avoidance, braking systems, etc., are basically few sensory based, response mechanisms which we have been developed in the vehicle. But the next level of intelligence, which will prevent you from first putting the vehicle in a dangerous situation, followed by in the situation of any kind of preemptive response that you are entering into a danger zone, the way we, collect our senses and quickly take a countermeasure, that's where it will happen. So between the mechanical engineer versus, electronic and electrical and computer engineers, I believe, but both of them are complementary, supplementary, and it cannot be, either or options. So I continue to strongly believe that mechanical engineers have not yet faded away from the basics of engineering.
Again,
Banerjee sir, we all are sitting, all the people who are sitting on the panel are basically mechanical engineers using all AI, ML, everything.
Yes.
Marikas are smiling now.
Yeah, and in fact, considering that there's this whole wave of softwareization of the automobile and software-defined vehicles, there's also a sense of fear of missing out in the minds of young students who want to pursue their career, perhaps as mechanical engineering as the first choice. So for the benefit of those, I would also like to add 2 bit basis my interaction also with other industry leaders, is that not to worry at all. Mechanical engineering is not going to go away anywhere, because most of these smart, all the intelligence, they are built on the platform of mechanical engineering. So in terms of components where you need mechanical components, they become smart, and they are controlled by these, as Mr. Banerjee said, the brains and the software. So, and in fact, an MD and CEO of a global technical center here, which does a lot of software work for the global OEM, he was telling me that he threw a challenge to many in one education institute with engineers, and rather a commitment, saying that mechanical engineers, follow your interests. If you have if you want engineers who want to do mechanical engineering, please go ahead. And I that is the gentleman, said, I will recruit you for employment, for new projects. So just to kind of allay all fears in the minds of people who may be thinking whether mechanical engineering will be will have to go into oblivion. Not at all, and all will coexist. And last few, I just wanted to share one bit. It's great to see the engagement of our attendees also. So very heartful thanks to all of you. Just to share with you panelists, a note here which is being shared by one Suraj. He says that no question. He just wants to raise 2 points. One is we need to talk about bad condition of roads and what being done and needs to be done to improve the quality of roads. And secondly, my view, that is Suraj's view, could be very micro and not as macro as the distinguished panel members, but it's important. I've noticed many cab drivers busy on mobiles in search of address that they have to visit, driving dead slow and least bothered about the traffic around them. Many auto rickshaw drivers driving at dead slow speed in a busy jam-packed road, looking for customers, all driving, including car drivers, not using indicators, blinkers while taking a turn, leaving the traffic behind them, guessing their movement. These are small things leading to big accidents. Question is, how do we change their behavior? Valid points, very common occurrences, very valid points. And those things also need to change, while at one end, we are talking about new regulations, advanced technologies, and like in the case of Netrodyne, really equipping the vehicles with AI ML led technologies to make drive. So the whole gamut of activities need to be in place, and of course, safer cars, with more robust architecture, all have to come advance and progress in the right direction, and for mobility to be safer, not only in India, but across the world. And in that respect, all of us have to really keep doing our bit. So thank you once again, esteemed panelists. Alejandro Furas, really appreciate you joining there from Munich. Mr. Manikar, thanks for taking out your time. Giri Kumar, really appreciate your very eye-opening, interesting presentation, very informative at that. Durga, thanks for sharing your perspective on how Netrodyne as an example of the new crop of players, new crop of partners or suppliers, if I may call them, are trying to bring value to the table, all based on advanced technologies. And Mr. Banerjee, thanks for sharing your perspective, not only your personal perspective, but also the industry perspective about the challenges and good to know about the initiative that SIAM is also really pushing towards making mobility safer in India. Best wishes with all your efforts, and rest assured, ETAuto will be there in joining hands on not towards the cause of anything that is contributive and constructive. And here, since we are talking about regulation technologies, just wanted to do a quick share a bit of information about the upcoming premier conference on automotive technology, which is India's leading conference on automotive technology, called the ETAuto Tech Summit, which is coming up on 21st and 22nd of June in Bengaluru. I take this opportunity to invite you all. Maybe Alejandro, you may like to, if you have a pending trip to India, please plan it around that time. It will be great to have you there also at the conference. And gentlemen, all of you, I take this opportunity to invite you to the 4th ETAuto Tech Conference, Tech Summit, and to I extend this invitation to all the attendees also. Thank you once again. On that note, I would like to really wish you good health, safety, and best wishes with success in all your endeavors. Thank you very much once again.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.